So we had a really great question from our comment section. The comment was, my closest friends are politically aligned and very vocal. They speak hateful about people opposed to them. They rant about inclusion and acceptance, but don't see how intolerant they've actually become.
Is that a question, or is that just a statement about their experience?
I think it's speaking to our last conversation about having difficult conversations with people in a loving way. And this person is open to having conversations with friends that don't align with them. It sounds like they have these friends who are very much aligned in their views. They rant about inclusion and acceptance, but they don't see how intolerant they've actually become. That's that dichotomy that we're seeing right now in a lot of the social structure in the world today. We have people who are screaming, you must include me, you must accept me. But when the tables are turned, there is no acceptance or inclusion or diversity of thought.
Especially with people who are ranting. The experience of being afraid to say something at that moment is right there. So you're going to already be probably on the defensive because of your fear of the rejection that could occur. But you also, on the other hand, there are two parts of you. One's afraid. The other part, I guess this person really wants cherishes these people and wants them to be connected to them. So there's a part of that person who wants to engage with them and help them recognize that ranting is not really a way of understanding how to solve problems, navigate in life, and this confirms for them their own belief system that they don't want challenged.
So how would you help someone navigate a relationship like that?
Well, the particulars are very important in understanding how the conversation is going. But when a person's ranting, they have a lot of energy inside of them. One way that you can sort of break that energy might be saying something like, wow, you really have a lot of energy about this. It sounds like it would be hard to have a conversation with you if I had a different opinion. And so you sort
asking questions.
Asking questions. Remember, I was talking about last time, observing the moment, being in the moment, catching the energy of the situation, observing the energy of the situation, of the conversation, the meta as opposed to the content, right? The meta is that rant. There's an energy there that just drives the person. So if you don't address that particular aspect of the conversation, you're not going to really be able to get to a place where you can have a reasonable discussion. You have to address the energy. And a lot of times all you have to do is just say, wow, you really have an energy. I'm just curious, how did you become so certain about your position?
Especially when we're starting a conversation with someone who has very concrete belief systems. The idea, you can't start a conversation thinking you're going to change their mind.
Right. Exactly right. If you think you're going to try to change their mind, you might as well just not talk about it.
Don't have the conversation.
You have to recognize what's happening with the conversation itself before you can get there. I had a conversation with a person who was ranting to me where I used to live in Columbus, Ohio, a very diverse neighborhood. This particular person came up to me and was engaging in a conversation with me. He felt really, really energetic about it. And he was like, some people call it a rant. I called it a lecture, as like lecturing me, right? And like he was lecturing me about his particular point of view. I said, I don't mind being lectured to here. I couldn't get a word in edgewise. Just standing there, I was just like receiving all this energy. And I said, I need to learn things. I need to be lectured to. And said, sometimes lectures are really good. I really appreciate the fact that you're doing that. And then he sort of backed away from that way of approaching me, which enabled me to have some kind of impact, and dialogue. This is a person who in the whole neighborhood knew that this person would also do that kind of thing with people. And my other friend who was standing there, he didn't say a word. He's a very nice person, careful about what he says and does. And he's a very nice person. He was embarrassed about what was taking place. We talked later about it, and he was embarrassed. I was able to have that conversation. And so he's a difficult person to manage, but over time, sometimes it takes time to re-engage with people. And over time, it was really amazing because what he was saying was something that really offended him that I had done. It had to do with my chocolate lab. But it really offended him. I thought he was not going to speak to me ever again. Over time, I continued to connect with him just briefly, little by little. And he calls me out of the blue and begins to talk to me about what happened to his wife who died from an aneurysm. It was like I was his best friend. I was like,
Wow.
so it was really kind of amazing. And I thought, whoa, he really did not like me. A lot of times you have to recognize that sometimes that these kind of conversations take effort and patience and the ability to hang in there over time, and you'll be able to have more meaningful discussions later on.
I think it can be especially difficult when you have two friends that are very much aligned. They feed each other that
Hmm.
energy when they're
Hmm.
together. And it can be helpful to have conversations with them separately so that you
Hmm.
can have some dialogue. But this is a hard place to be. And I know that I've been there plenty of times in conversations, but taking it really slowly and asking lots of questions,
Right.
saying, I'm curious to know, instead of coming at them with information, because when they're ranting or when they have such concrete beliefs, it can be like a wall. Giving information to them doesn't help.
Right. I've learned to be this way as a therapist because you have lots of people who come in with lots of emotion. They've built up a belief system about their experience in the world and how they are approached and how they should approach the world. And they're convinced that this is the way that things need to go, which is, you could say, is the part of the disorder that they're experiencing. Just as an illustration, I had this one experience. I had a client who had dissociative identity disorder. I don't know if you know about that or not, but it used to be called multiple personality. And I had a call from this particular person scheduled. The person called and said that they were going to cancel the appointment. So I put someone else in that person's place. The day came when I was counseling and I was meeting with another client and they had left. And lo and behold, my client showed up for that appointment. And a lot of times in DID people, there's a part of them that will call and interrupt whatever treatment to sabotage the work. And then the other part will take them there and they won't even remember. Anyway, she was standing outside my office. And at that particular time, I was working inside a church building. And she flew into a rage, a literal rage. She was calling me all kinds of profanity. I mean, standing there in the church and just like, I said, I recognized it. I said, I'll give you a free session the next time. I should have been aware of it. And she said, I'm never going to see you again. Expletive, 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 and slamming the door on the way. I said, I'll see you Thursday at 2:00. She says, I'm never going to ever see you again, you expletive. And slams the door. I just was patient and I had her down. And the next Thursday, she shows up right on the dot. Comes over to me and she sits down in her chair and she says, I think I give you too much power in my life. I've had lots of experiences where those kind of situations occur, where I've been able to experience that intensity of the conversation of the moment that doesn't feel like it goes well, staying calm, staying connected, and being able to engage with people. Now, this is really an important aspect of having healthy conversations because if I took all that personally and I got angry, then I would not handle it well. I would not have the communication to be able to work with the person. So again, go back to the original conversation last time. You have to see them as a person, as a friend. You have to see it that way and get beyond the facade, that barrage of communication that is so ineffective that they're bringing into your life. There's a reason why they're doing that. And so you really have to recognize that. Don't get caught up into that emotional stuff and stay calm on your side of the picture. And if you stay calm, then you can stay present and then you can catch the energy and then you can begin to reframe the conversation in a way that will maybe calm things down.